Welcome to Red35, and today we are looking at this, the brand new EM10 Mark III by Olympus. Since 2012, I think Olympus has been quite busy developing their OM-D line. So obviously 2012 was the very first digital OM-D camera, the original EM5, and since then they have launched the EM10, then the EM1, then the EM5 Mark II, the EM10 Mark II, and then the EM1 Mark II. And now obviously we have the latest edition, the EM10 Mark III. So now it's starting the Mark III game now, so we can kind of expect what's going to come in the next couple of years. But like the rest of the OM-D lines here, you know, like they are all very similar looking because they follow the theme of OM-D cameras. So they trying to mimic the very old original OM-D film cameras, not OM-D, sorry, OM camera, yes, way back in the 80s. Which is all fine, you know, like they were gorgeous looking camera, and I think without a doubt, you know, the OM-D has proven to be one of the most popular enthusiast and kind of mirrorless cameras around to date. And the EM10 Mark III kind of follow the same theme, and it hasn't changed aesthetically. It looks very similar to the Mark II, and in fact it now borrows a lot of the design cue from the EM5 Mark II. Like the grip. The grip is now kind of virtually identical to the EM5 now, and it looks very similar in terms of the contour, so it makes the handlings a little bit better. So 2017, what has Olympus done to their latest camera, the OM-D EM10 Mark III? Well, I would say it's more like an incremental update to it, but it brings enough features to call it a modern OM-D camera, because apart from the EM1 Mark II, this is the second OM-D camera that can actually shoot 4K video. And also, what sets it apart from the EM1 Mark II as well, this also does slow motion, which none of the OM-D cameras ever does. This actually, at 720p mode, you can actually shoot up to 120 frames per second. So it's decent enough, and but having said that, you know, this is not the first Olympus camera can do slow-mo, because if you remember our PG5, the TUF camera review, that TUF camera can also do slow motion. So this is actually not the first one, but they now finally have a interchangeable lens camera, a mirrorless camera that can actually do slow-mo, which I think is a big welcome, because it's a popular option for a lot of casual filmmakers, bloggers, vloggers. They love slow motions. This thing actually does it quite well as well. You know, for 120 frames per second is plenty slow, and then even when you do a 1080 mode, you can shoot up to 60 frames per second. So you can do a half speed, so it's not bad. It's quite okay. This is probably by far the most I would say the important features for the EM10 update. And styling, like I said, is very similar to the predecessor, the Mark II. There's nothing much change, although it has borrowed a lot from the EM5 Mark II now, like the grip. And in terms of spec-wise, it uses the same actual 16 megapixel sensor from the Mark II. So in terms of resolution, you haven't got a bump or anything like that. And to me, you know, I was really happy with the EM5 Mark I and Mark II sensor, so I've never ever complained about the 16 megapixel anyway. And now it's got the same processor as the EM1 Mark II, so it's got a TruePic 8. I can't complain at all, because it's now shooting blazingly fast. You know, I shot this against the EM5 Mark II. I can actually tell slightly, this is slightly faster than EM5 Mark II in good light. And so that is a big bonus. If people are looking for a fast shooting camera for casual traveling, family thing, blogging, vlogging, this is actually quite a decent thing. And look at the size of this thing. This is another benefit of an EM10. Okay, EM5 is quite small already, but this is even smaller. And what else has changed? Apart from that, I like this on-off switch. You know, like this is what the film camera used to do, and which is what I like about the retro styling. So now in the Olympus has take more design cue from the back. not from the back, I mean from the film cameras days, and then and put it into their digital camera. So I like these sort of features because I can pop it for turning it on, and if you twist it open, that's when it pops the flash. And yes, talking about flash, this is the only OM-D camera has a built-in flash, which I think is actually quite good for especially casual shooter. And you have a kind of like a fill-in light for like backlit situation like this at the moment, so it's actually quite good. And you know, any modern digital OM-D camera now has similar features like the wireless feature. It has Wi-Fi built in, so you can use your OI share for filming and also for photo shooting, and for importing photo to your smart devices and share it out to your social media accounts. I think this is actually one of the main target market for the EM10 is for not just the beginner, but for people who are doing a lot of traveling, vlogging, blogging thing. So for those people, I think it's actually quite good. Here comes the build quality issues. Right, there isn't an issue at all, because I think, as you know by now, if you haven't touched an OM-D cameras before, you should try one. No matter which model you go for, they are exceptional. And the EM10 Mark III, it's the same, you know, it's just built like a tank. And in fact, I actually think that in terms of feel, when I actually hold it, the EM10 Mark III, it actually feels more solid than its little brother, the EM5 Mark II. And it's nearly on par as the EM1 Mark II in terms of, you know, the ruggedness in the hand. But having said that, it hasn't got weather seal, so don't expect the same kind of toughness. You can, you know, take it to the Amazon or desert or something like that with the EM1 than this one, or even the EM5 Mark II has weather seal. So this is actually not built for you taking photos in the storm, although I've done that before and it survives, but it's not recommended. But it's okay. I mean, the build quality is really good. I mean, I can't really fault it. It's no squeaks or, you know, rattles anywhere. It just feels nice in the hand. Image quality, I think, is one of the biggest questions of any photographer who are looking for a new camera. Well, I can tell you that the EM10 Mark III doesn't disappoint. Whether you are a beginner or you are enthusiast or even a semi-professional, I think you won't be disappointed with the image quality, because like I always like about the OM-D cameras, it produces really gorgeous files, whether in JPEG or RAW. And this thing now has the same processor as the EM1 Mark II, which I actually use EM1 Mark II for professional users. So I can guarantee that it's actually cool. You got lower noises in higher ISO, and now you got faster AF, and also a little bit better in the AFC. So it's actually quite good. I think you will be happy with that. If you're not familiar with the Olympus OM-D line of cameras, and you probably don't know what all these numbers mean, you know, the EM10, the EM5, the EM1. Let me tell you now, the EM1 are usually aiming for the professional markets or the very serious enthusiasts. Then you have the EM5 kind of sit in the middle, where, you know, like you can be used for enthusiasts, but it has a lot more kind of fine-tuning capabilities and a little bit more feature reach in terms of photographically, also videos. And the EM10 are usually the entry level, aiming for like beginners and enthusiasts alike. And I can tell you that, you know, the EM10 is probably by far one of the easiest camera to use. And if a friend just come up to me and ask me for recommendation, I have no problem recommending the EM10, because this is a really good camera to actually start growing your photography because it has so many features. And if you don't know anything about photography to start with, it has a lot of icons, a lot of things that actually show you what they are, and you can actually quite easily select those options, and it does it by itself. In the meantime, you can actually learn about the relationship between them. And as you grow, then you can actually switch up those options, and you can actually continue using like semi-automatic or even full manual mode, use it as like a normal full feature cameras. So this thing is actually very cool, and when you outgrow it, you can go either the EM5 or the EM1, which makes perfect sense for anyone who are getting into photography or looking at a smaller compact camera who can carry around. So it's really awesome stuff. And the menu system is just by far, you know, one of the best I've seen so far from modern OM-D cameras, because it's got so many icons, which is amazing. You know, it just I think it has a lot of to do with the TG5. The menu system, it looks a little bit like that, which is actually not a bad thing, because for a lot of people who may not know or understand about photography, those little icons and graphics actually helps to understand them. So just by looking at the mode dials, obviously there is standard PASM, which is program, aperture, priority, shutter speed priority, full menu, and there is the movie mode, that's art filter. There's a lot of art filters. And then this is brand new, advanced program. When you switch to advanced photo, not program, this comes up. So it lets you actually choose different options in here, and the camera does it by itself and does all the calculations and everything. So all you need to do is just press the trigger. And then, even you just scroll through this menu, it tells you what they are. It actually have a nice picture to kind of give you an idea what sort of shot you'll be looking at. Double exposures, HDR, silent shutter, panoramic, even keystone compensation, like perspective control, which is really amazing. And you got AE bracketing, focus bracketing, light composite, lifetime. All these stuff are actually really useful. If you don't know how to use them, this is the best way to start and understand them. There is one brand new art filter in this camera. It's called the Bleach Bypass, and there are tons of art filters in the actual camera, but this is brand new. And Bleach Bypass is actually quite popular these days in terms of photography style. People like to use that style on Instagram or social media posts, so this is actually quite good to include that, because a lot of people, beginner at least, they most likely shoot JPEG anyway. So art filter helps them to create that sort of effect that they want. So let's do a quick shot of my foot. Yeah, look at that, Bleach Bypass. Whoa, look at that. So you can actually quickly press the quick out button. You can choose another tone, look a little bit more flatter. Woo, yeah, I like that one. That's all right. Cool, look at that. And apart from Bleach Bypass, and there are absolute tons of art filters. Some of them, you probably would never use because it's just a little bit over the top, to be honest, but they are fun. They're fun stuff. But if you're a beginner, like I said, you can just explore a little bit, try all the effects, see which one you like the most. But I think Bleach Bypass is actually kind of one of my favorites so far, because it's actually really popular style. So I actually do use that similar sort of tones for some of my couple shoots lately. And like I said, I think the icon menu is quite good, because if you switch to video mode, you can quickly choose different mode. So this is standard, which is standard 1080p, 4K, clip. I don't know what clip does. It only allows you to take 8 seconds or whatever seconds you want to do. I have no idea why it included it, because you can use normal standard 4K or 1080 mode to actually shoot whatever length you want. And that's high speed, slow-mo. I really enjoy shooting the E-M10 Mark III, and there are a couple of things I actually want to highlight. It may or may not concern you, but I want to highlight that so you can decide whether it actually kind of affects you or not. But I want to highlight the positive, a little positive about the AF first, which now it has 121 focusing point, which is amazing. It's up from 81 from the Mark II. So it covers most of the image area, which now is more flexible in terms of kind of off-center composition. But that is what brings me to the downside a little bit, and is that unlike its brother, the EM5 Mark II, which has a feature allow you to resize the focusing point. So you can actually make it a little bit more precise, so it can actually kind of make the focusing box a little bit smaller, so it can really pinpoint certain bits in the image to be focused on. Well, that may not be a problem if you're using an ultra wide angle or something like that, because majority of the stuff is being focused. But if you are using something like this, the 25 1.2, which has a much shallower depth of field, or even a 75 1.8 or longer lenses, sometimes you just want to get that little bit more precise focusing in a certain area of the image, then you may find it a little bit more problematic, especially when you shoot wide open. And while the EM5 Mark II has the ability to actually get it so precise that I never really missed a shot. So this is only one thing that I found, but in a majority of cases, people are not going to be shooting ultra shallow depth of field lenses, especially for beginner at least. So it may not be a problem, but I just want to highlight that because I actually really like the kind of adjustment on the EM5 Mark II. And having said that, the EM1 Mark II doesn't have that either. And then the other thing is, which I noticed, is I said about the build quality, it hasn't got the rattles and things like that, but when you switch on the movie mode, when you move around, you can actually feel the sensor, the stabilization working so hard, it's like banging internally. You can actually feel it. It's really weird. And it doesn't actually affect the image quality or the video quality at all, you know, it doesn't. But it's just kind of weird, you know, like even you were swinging left and right, when you do maybe panning shot, a fast panning shot, you can actually feel the sensor kind of banging left and right, and then or the actual IS system, it's just weird in a way. And but don't get scared by it. I mean, it could be normal, but it is actually something I want to point out. So in case you just think that your camera is broken, but it's not. It actually is what the IS is doing. It's moving around, and but it's unusual because it doesn't have that kind of movement in the EM5 Mark II or the EM1 Mark II, and this is actually the first time I've actually feel the stabilization banging inside the body, and this is the first one. But apart from that, like I said, these are only two things that are probably the most concerning part of my review, but for most people we're probably okay about it. So I think it's still good, you know, it's not a negative, but I want to highlight that to you guys. If you are just starting out in photography, if you don't know anything about photography, you want to get your first camera, or you have been photographing your iPhone and things like that, and if you want to move up a little bit just to get a bit more better quality, better featured camera, and this is probably the best choice at the moment. The reason I said that because, you know, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of icons and graphical information allow you to actually understand what each feature means, which means that you can actually learn about the relationship of, you know, photographic techniques in this camera. So it's just kind of like learning a little bit photography through the screen. This is kind of interesting, and I do find it's very easy to use, you know, good handling, and a small and compact body, which actually you can take it anywhere you want. But here's a big but now, you know, like since this is launched, you know, and then or announced by Olympus, a lot of people have been comparing this to his brother, the EM5 Mark II, because now on the street you can actually get the EM5 Mark II very, very similarly priced to the EM10 Mark III. So which one would you choose though? The EM5 or the EM10? It's going to be a tough question because it really depends on what you need. For a start, if you're a blogger, vloggers, probably you will be satisfied with both camera, but if you do create 4K content, or you would like to use a little bit of slow-mo, this is probably the only option you can have, because the EM5 Mark II doesn't have any 4K or slow-mo option at all if you do videos. And but having said that, the EM5 Mark II does have a mic input, which allows you to put a mic in it, and this one doesn't. So I don't know, it's a little bit chicken and egg here, you know, and so you just have to kind of rate it out, you know, what you're going to do with the videos. I mean, you can just do what we do, put a left mic, and you're just going to be, you know, like doing a little bit of post work, just put the little bit audio work in post, so that should be fine. In terms of photographic quality, image quality, they're both very, very equal. I mean, I can't find any fault between the two. This has slightly better high ISO performance because it's got the latest processor from the EM1 Mark II. AF speed is slightly faster than this as well, but there's also another but. This one doesn't have the high resolution mode like the EM5 Mark II or the EM1 Mark II. Unless you are a high-res guy, you use that feature a lot in landscape mode, I don't think you need that. So to me, I think in 2017, I would choose the EM10 Mark III over the EM5 Mark II. As much as I love the EM5 Mark II, I mean, I really do love that camera, but because these days, you know, I'm on YouTube and I do a lot of vlogging myself, and 4K is the future, and I like to do a little bit slow-mo, and then this is actually a little bit better camera anyway. And I don't use internal mic, and I use my left mic, so you actually record audio externally. So the lack of mic input, it doesn't really bother me too much. And image quality is about the same, if not better, than the EM5 Mark II. So to me, the EM10 Mark III wins. So there you go. I think the EM10 Mark III is a brilliant camera. I did have a couple of concerns that I mentioned earlier, but you know, if you are in the market looking for a beginner level cameras that you can grow with you and you can take anywhere, take exceptional good quality images, and also like a little bit of nice videos, this is definitely one of the best on the market at the moment. We hope you enjoy the videos, and then if you like it, please do this and also subscribe to our channel for future updates. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. All the links is going to be down below in the description. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.